you. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking His Excellency, Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Shibajo, for gracing this occasion, for being here today. We are extremely happy. We feel very privileged that he will take the time to come here today. We feel very special. Thank you very much, sir. Also, there's a lot of very, very important people here that I'd like to, recognize, but I also know I might not get to everybody. So I'm just going to run through the list, but we're very, very grateful for everybody coming here. I'd like to appreciate Mrs. Miriam Uwais. Please help me give her a round of applause. She's very special to us. She runs the social welfare program for Nigeria. And many people don't realize how important it is for Nigeria to take care of the poor and the people at the bottom of the pyramid. If we don't, we will not have Nigeria anymore. So she has a very important mission. I would like to thank her, appreciate her for coming today. I'd like to appreciate the chairman of Venture Garden Group, the chairman of our board, Mr. Cyril Odu. He's been a very big supporter. Thank you, sir. He's been a very, very big supporter of this dream. He was with us from the very beginning. He gave us our very, very first check and told us to move back from Nigeria, so from the US, and move back to Nigeria. So we got our inspiration from him. I'd like to, also thank my wife for being a huge supporter of this dream and all the stress that she has to go through dealing with not being at home. Thank you very much, dear. Would like to appreciate Mr. Olukayode Piton, the Managing Director of Bank of Industry, who also has a very important mission in that the work of BOI affects micro SMEs and SMEs. So we're very grateful for his work. I'd like to appreciate Ambassador Robin Sanders, who is also a member of the governing board of Venture Garden Group, former US ambassador to Nigeria, very passionate about the Nigeria cause. I'd like to appreciate Mrs. Toyin Adeniji, the executive director of Bank of Industry. I'd also like to appreciate our parents, that are here today, myself and Kumi. My dad, Professor Akinyemiju. Thank you. Kumi's dad, Dr. Demiran. Kumi's mom, Mrs. Demiran, who is also the chairman of GT Bank. I'd like to appreciate Akinyemiju, the executive secretary of LSCTF. I'd like to appreciate Laji Gamawa, who came all the way from Abuja. Yeah. I'd like to appreciate Mr. Tunde Akinyemiju, my uncle. I'd like to appreciate Dr. Yinka David West from the Lagos Business School. I'd like to appreciate Pastor D for always being there for us. There's so many people here that I want to mention one at a time. We have somebody representing the MD of FAN, here. We're very, very grateful for you being here. I see all my friends and everybody, but I just want to jump right into it because we're very, very grateful for everybody who's taking the time to be here. And I want to try and keep this, very short and to the point. We're here today to basically launch Vibranium Valley. A lot of people ask, why Vibranium Valley? What is Vibranium Valley? And so on and so forth. Vibranium Valley is bigger than us as individuals. It's bigger than VGG as a whole, because we really believe that what Nigeria needs is essentially to build an ecosystem. Nigeria needs to build an ecosystem, And it's only by building an ecosystem that we can make this happen. So it's bigger than one company. And an ecosystem speaks to entrepreneurs, government, corporate, investors, and everybody partnering together to make big things happen. So the Vibranium Valley is essentially the start to a new vision, a vision of building ecosystems all across Nigeria to be able to transform Nigeria and transform the continent. So how? How do we do this? The way we do this basically is by, can somebody, let me check if this is working. But the way we basically do this is by building a campus. So this is not an office, it's a campus. And it's a campus that represents the youth, innovation, data, talent. That ecosystem is very important. Let's give you some stats. Israel raised 5.2 billion in investment in 2017. Nigeria only raised $115 million, right? Despite having 20 times the population of Israel. So there's a problem. Why is there a delta? And we know a lot of these, right? We know we have smart people as well. We know we have youth and so on and so forth. What we're saying is that Nigeria needs a very disruptive approach to development, to infrastructure for us to change this conversation. Okay? Now, let me walk you through the life of Yakub. Yakub is an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur who has an office in Yobe, right? He wakes up in the morning and the first thing he has to do is to turn on the generator because there's no power, right? So he has to, operate this generator, and then it's not working. Then it eventually works, and then he now takes off going to work. As he's going to work, that day, he's going through the city. He gets to the office. First thing he realizes is that, hey, there's no diesel in the generator. Again, he has to deal with that issue. Next thing, he has 20 staff. 8 of them came to him and said, Oga, we're going to quit. Why? What's going on? We're building something great here. And he said, oh, sorry, we're moving to Canada. That's a familiar story. After that, he comes out and he's like, okay, let me go visit the customer for the day. Gets a call that there's a bomb that's been set up near the school of his daughter. He then has to rush back and say, what's going on? Grab the child, get home, and stops taking the child to school because he's worried that could this happen again, right? And of course, it's because he doesn't have a way to educate this student without, worrying about security. So at the end of the day, he gets back home and he figures out that he needs to hire new people. He needs to raise financing. And so he calls the bank. And he calls the bank, and the bank tells him, sorry, we can't give you a loan. Even if we're going to give you a loan, we can't give you a loan because there's no data. We have no data about you. Show me your bank statement. Show me your history. Show me your employment history. Show me all these different things. No data. So can't get a loan. Can't grow the company. Now, he now thinks, what do I do? He has to shut down the company. And this is just an example of the things that an entrepreneur has to go through. Now, I'm painting a very dark picture, a picture that is very, grim, like the end of times. But inside this picture is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity for greatness, an opportunity that exists in the Nigeria people, that if we embrace a few concepts tightly, we strongly believe that there is hope. And what are those concepts? The youth, the power of the youth, the power of the Nigerian hustle and the entrepreneurial spirit, right? The power of the diaspora, right? Those people who have gone to get this training abroad. The power of technology to be able to automate processes and make processes better. And the power of data. If you combine these things, we think magic can happen. And we think that the opportunities here, and Vibranium Valley is being launched to essentially bring this into Africa. So the story of Yakubu can resonate with everybody today, right? Generating your own power, insecurity in the north, inability to access credit, access to infrastructure and services, access to quality education, and people have to leave Nigeria because they just want better education, migration of talent, and inability to meet financial and family obligations. These are the challenges. Now let's talk about the potential solution and how we get there, right? And what is the role? Because you might say that I'm oversimplifying when I say technology can solve this. There is no silver bullet in life. We all know that. But what we believe is that what is close enough to that silver bullet is if we build this ecosystem, and if we have collaboration across all the parties, and if we embrace these 5 concepts that I'm talking about. So we really believe that that is how we can change things. And what are those concepts? Energy. How can technology help to transform energy and power sector? Because we've realized that it's important in Yakubu's life, and it's important for everything we're trying to do. Industrialization, productivity, cost of production, global competitiveness, all these different things, it ties back ultimately to what is your cost of surviving as an individual? What is your unit economics for your product? Foundational. How can technology help? So let's hold that thought. Social and financial inclusion. If we don't solve that, there's a premium for investment in Nigeria today. And the premium is on one side, the brand, right? The negative brand image. On the other side, it is really the insecurity or the perceived insecurity. So how do we start changing that data? So even this so-called insecurity that we have, if we're a data-driven country and the data is very transparent, the real data, right? That premium we're paying on lack of capital or cost of capital will be reduced because people realize that, oh, this insecurity is ring-fenced here, so we can invest here. But while we're investing here, we know this one can encroach into here. So how do we join hands to impact the insecurity there? That's when we all work together, and that's the power of ecosystem. Social and financial inclusion is important because if we don't bring everybody up, if there are people who still make less than $1 a day, then no matter where you are in Nigeria, there is a risk to everybody. And that's why the work that Mrs. Weiss is doing, I think, is extremely important to everybody. Education is important because otherwise everybody will leave. Brain drain, right? Transportation and aviation is important because if those investors cannot connect easily to Nigeria, they're not going to come. And the DFE of FAN is here, the incredible work they're doing, going cashless, so that all the money that's due to Nigeria can go into the pockets of the aviation sector, and they can now invest in infrastructure, they can now invest in safety. What that does is it reduces the cost of tickets, right? Then more people can fly, and more people can go from Lome, Ghana, and all these different places will fly from Nigeria as a hub. Why does everybody fly to Dubai? You're going to London, you're going to US, you're going to all these different places, you still go through Dubai. And it's out of the way. It's because of data. It's the power of ecosystems. That's very important. So, of course, business, startups, entrepreneurship is very important. All the companies we've seen here today, there are 20 companies that want to move into Silicon Valley and come and take space here. The work they're doing is extremely important. Not just because they're taking space here, not just because they're adding value to the economy, but they're also creating jobs. Let's talk about Prep Class. Prep Class is a company that's like Uber, connecting tutors who want to teach and parents who want somebody to teach them. They're one of the companies, that's planning to move here. That's job creation en masse. That's a tutor coming to your house. So even Yakub doesn't necessarily have to send that child to school. If there's insecurity, if he can jump on an app and the teacher can come to his home and teach the child, and payment can move automatically. So I'm talking about these problems, and I'm talking about the solutions, because the solutions are in our hands. We just now need to catalyze it. And His Excellency, anytime we have an opportunity to talk, we always talk about Bunmi, talk about scale. What you're doing is too small. Talk about scale. So that challenge is what we took here, and we said, let's talk scale. This campus can fit 2,000 people, between 1,500 and 2,000 people, between 30 and 50 companies. Now, that's scale. That was why we said, HE, come and look at this because we're doing scale. You challenge us to do scale, not all these small things, right? And that's why we're here today. And of course, lastly, enabling policies. If government is making decisions based on data, that means that the policies would actually work. Not because you will get it right the first time, but because you can keep tweaking it until you get it. It's just like, you know, I play a bit of music. So it's just like a guitar. You're tuning a guitar. So imagine tuning a guitar and you tune it a little bit. You're tuning the different strings, but you can't hear how it sounds. That's data. So you can't hear how they sound. So now imagine if you can actually get a guitar tuned. You can't. And that's how it is, trying to make decisions and policies without using real-time data. Because worst case, you can make the wrong decision, the wrong policy, but you now see the outcome. Very quickly, you go back and you edit it, you change it. And then worst case, 5 times, 7 times, you'll get it right. So we believe that the power of Nigeria can be unlocked if we take advantage of data. Next slide. Next slide. Go on. So let's talk education. I've talked very high level, but it's also important to talk in the sense of real companies doing real things and how we can unlock this problem. Next slide. So what's the problem in education? Let's talk about tertiary institutions for a minute, right? Every year, an approximate 80% of students attempt to enter university in Nigeria. They take JAMB, and many of them actually, qualify. So you can see the statistics basically year over year from 2000 to 2015. That green bar is what's showing you the number of people we admitted. Why? Because we don't have enough universities or we don't have enough lecture theaters compared to our population. So see the graph between 2011 and 2015, how many universities? From 112 to 141, right? See the next graph. The next graph is talking about the number of admitted students. It's moving from roughly about 15% or 5%, depending on how you look at it, to 30%. So at the higher scale, we have capacity to admit 30% of the people that qualify, pass, take JAMB, and go into university. What does that mean? It's a disaster, right? Because all of those people that cannot get in now, if they're from an affluent family, then maybe they can go to Canada. If they're not, which is most of the case, then social issues, right? Delta Avengers, Boko Haram, those things are not magical. They're because people don't have opportunities. They're because people don't have anywhere to go. They don't have a way to keep busy, and they don't have a way to make a living. So we have to fix that. The picture gets worse in 2050 because the population is projected to grow to 410 million. 64 million of them are going to be between the ages of 15 to 24. And we will need 2,000 universities to support that. So what does that mean? Next slide. It means that, and by the way, this is statistics on where they're all going now. They're going to Benin Republic. They're going to Ghana. They're going to Canada. They're going to, even Australia. They're going to South Africa. And we're spending almost $2 billion every year in educating them. That's money that we can use to invest in new universities. That's money that we can use to embrace technology to actually make it so that you don't have to just build new lecture theaters because it's not sustainable for a solution. The answer is technology. And the answer is what EduTech, one of the companies who is located in this campus, is doing. Now, today, they have 3 universities as partners. Today, they have 4 programs online. MBA, nursing, economics, accounting, and so on and so forth. Today, as we're speaking here, there's 3,434 people who are going to school on their tablet device somewhere in Nigeria. Some of them are even outside Nigeria. Now, that's incredible work. Not because 3,000 is close to where we need to be in terms of 2,000 universities, but because if you can nail it for 2,000, then all that HEVP has to say is, I don't care how you do it. I need 20 companies doing this in Nigeria in the next 1 year, right? And I need you to go from 3,000 to 30,000. And all of a sudden, we start achieving scale. So it's doable. It's possible. We're already doing it. It's online. It's happening now. We just need the cooperation of the regulators, and we need the mandate to get going, and you need the space, the enabling environment, the ecosystem to make it happen. It's not magical. And that's really the essence of my story today, is that this problem sounds grand. It sounds impossible. But the reality of it is that you can reverse engineer those problems into a technology solution. And there's somebody in Nigeria who is already solving it as an entrepreneur, making money doing it. We just now need to amplify it. Next slide. And examples, I talked about Prep Class. I talked about Tito NG, and Della is a good example, and Gidimo are examples of the companies who are doing this already. We just need to amplify it. And so Vibranium Valley, and one of my asks at the end of this presentation is going to be, can we just help to amplify those people by giving them the space, by giving them access to capital, by giving them the regulatory framework so that they can do what they can do? Can we actually bring some of those government agencies to take space here so that we have access to, is it NUC, is it NEPC, is it NIPC, is it all of these guys who are enablers? Because if they're talking, the problem now is that they're too far. Entrepreneurs don't like to go to Abuja, and government will not come to meet you. Well, this is an exception, and we're very grateful. Thank you, sir. Next slide. Aviation. Within aviation, the potentials are huge. I talked about that earlier. Next slide. Flights are delayed. We don't have enough aircrafts, right? You know, safety issues, infrastructure issues. Technology can help, because when you use data, you attract capital. When you have capital, the aviation sector will just happen, right? You'll be able to buy aircrafts, you have spare aircrafts, so flights will not be late. And when you have improved connectivity between cities, investors will come. Next slide. Move on. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Power. Now, this is one that is a tough one. And I have to admit, this one is a challenging problem, because it's billions of dollars in reality that we're dealing with, right? And we have a company called PowerTech, you know, and the company doing aviation, AVTech earlier. Now, this is PowerTech. PowerTech was running the grid, the Nigeria grid, for about 2 years. During that time period, we saw that the only way to solve this problem is for all the owners of the discos to come into a room, like a dashboard room, and see the data, and for it to be clear who is at fault last month, who did not take load, who rejected load, which Genco did not put enough energy on the grid, which disco did not collect enough, and for everybody to set targets and to hold each other accountable. That's simple. That's step one to solve the power problem: data, technology. The second way to solve it is access to capital. But access to capital will never come into an opaque system. When there's a dark room, capital does not come there. But when you shine the light using data and transparency, the solutions are over. Now, in the meantime, while we're waiting for that transparency, the way we can solve it right now is to decentralize the grid. There comes solar. Solar energy, take it to communities, take it to homes, put it on pay-as-you-go, which is what RentSource is doing, which is what Lagos State is doing, where they want to create a Lagos grid. That is the temporary solution until we realize that transparency in data is how we solve it. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I'll wrap up with social investment, because this is the one that's dearest to me. Because if we don't solve this, there will be no Nigeria, right? We build big houses in Ikoyi, we drive big cars, but one day everything will explode. And it will explode when just a critical mass of people just realize that it's enough. I don't have anything to lose, because I don't have anything to lose if I don't have a way to make a living, if I don't have a place to go to school. So you just need enough of a critical mass to decide that it's enough, and everything explodes. So the work that the social investment program is doing is extremely important. And the fact that they've actually reached 9 million people, most people in Nigeria actually are not aware of what's happening and the importance of that 5,000 naira a month to the poor and vulnerable. For that 50,000 naira loan from, Madam Toyin's Jeep program. Most people don't understand that those are people that, and if you don't do it equally across Nigeria, we will not get capital, because they will say there's one Boko Haram across Nigeria, and the US Embassy will issue all these alerts that will scare everybody. Has anybody seen those letters before? If I see those, I will not come to Nigeria. It's very simple. How do we change that? We can actually make it transparent. Everywhere there's a bomb blast, you actually publish it online, and you publish the number of people that were affected, and show it on a map, so that they see that it's actually not that bad. And as it incrementally gets better week over week, month over month, you make it super transparent. We believe, and we are betting that it changes the game. Thank you very much.